So everybody obviously knows Dale Comstock, been on my podcast 1,000 times. And as everybody knows, I'm obsessed with hierarchies. And we went through this the other episode, but today Dale and I just having a short conversation. I wanted you to flesh out or at least explain what the actual difference is, right? So everybody, right? You got the Army, you got Green Berets, you got 82nd, you got Rangers, and then you got the tip of the spear. You got Delta, right? Or and then Navy, you got Navy SEALs, and then DevGru, the development group, or SEAL Team 6, as everyone knows it as, killed Bin Laden. You've got DevGru. So you've kind of, and I've always said that, you've got these two parallel, right? You got your college, your professional, and your Olympic teams. And so what is the difference then? If we have Delta and we have DevGru, what exactly is the difference? How do they compare? How do they size up to each other?
So, good, interesting question. So here's the main difference, right? First of all, obviously SEALs have a maritime capability. However, the Delta Force and Special Forces Green Berets also have a scuba capability, right, and a maritime capability. We can do both. So the biggest differentiator is the selection process. So unlike, for example, SEALs, when SEALs go through their selection process, it's basically a group function, right? Guys go to buds, they go out and they freaking roll around the sand, they swim in the water, they do a lot of push-ups, and they carry heavy things as a group. So it's easy for a guy to kind of camouflage himself in this group dynamic, right? He may be the shorter guy carrying the pole, so he's not carrying as much weight. So, and not only that, he may be maybe a little underpowered, and all he's got to do is draw his motivation from the other guys, right? So, and it's no different than, like Ranger School, Special Forces qualification course to be a Green Beret, and all these other types of selection processes. So the difference between Delta Force and all these other ones is this. The selection process for Delta focuses on each individual person. Essentially, you're going through a selection process by yourself. You're not going through as a team. When you go through selection, you don't know what the time standard is. You don't know how long you're going to go, how fast you have to go. You don't know what you're going to be expected to do next. You're just told what to do at that time and do the best you can. In fact, that is a standard. Do the best you can. And that makes you wonder, well, how fast is fast enough? Am I meeting the standard? So it forces you to do the best you can, and you don't know what the best you can is. So, and you do this day in and day out. You do it under heavy loads. It's very physical, extremely physical. But you're doing it all by yourself. You know what? When you move as a group and you're doing something difficult as a group, something arduous, something challenging, it's a lot easier to find your strength within the group. Okay, it's almost like a shared, not so much as a responsibility, but you kind of share the group strength is what you're doing. You're bleeding, and you're kind of bleeding off of that. And in the Delta Force selection, you're going through by yourself. There's no one to draw on. There's no one to look at and go, how am I keeping up with this guy, or how am I doing compared to that guy? You don't know. You're always by yourself till the end of the day. When the day is done or the night is done, if you successfully completed the day, you'll be told to get on a truck, a covered truck. You won't know where you're going. You'll arrive at a camp out in the field somewhere in the woods, and basically you'll be told, get some food, get some rest. And then tomorrow morning, at whatever time, 0600, you'll be told you're standing right here with gear and ready to go. And you do this day in and day out. And what happens ultimately is you're going so hard physically, and it's very mountainous terrain. I'm not going to mention the actual area, but I will say this, it's extremely mountainous terrain. And in the most difficult weather conditions, it's either in the late fall or early spring when it's either snowing or when it's raining, but it's always cold in that environment. And you do it every day until your body just keeps breaking down more and more and more. And the only thing that's going to keep you going is your mind. That's the only thing that keeps you going. Nothing else. Because when I went through, I remember standing in the middle of a plowed farmer's field, freezing rain, up to my knees in mud. And I couldn't see my next waypoint, if you will, because the fog was so dense that I couldn't see more than 100 yards in front of me, but I couldn't get out of the mud either. I was so tired and so exhausted at this point that physically I had nothing left in the gas tank. If I wanted to quit, there was no way for me to quit because nobody would see me out in this field in the fog for quite some time. So I had no choice but to muscle through this mud, climb the mountain, get to the top to my next rendezvous point, at which point I thought, well, damn, now that I'm here, why would I quit? Now it's back downhill. I can roll downhill if I need to, but it's always a mental chess game with yourself. Eventually it's really just you against yourself every day. They just tell you do the best you can. They're not putting any pressure on you. When I say they, I'm talking about the Delta Force cadre, the ones that are putting you through the selection process. They're stone faced. They have a straight face. They don't encourage you. They don't discourage you. They just tell you do the best you can. Here's your instructions. Do the best you can. Well, Sergeant, how fast? What's the time? Do the best you can. It's always the same answer. It's almost like talking to robots. And so you go off wandering in the woods, having these conversations with yourself, wondering, are you going fast enough? Are you going too slow? Are you going the right way? When is this going to end? Can you make it through today and through tonight and continue tomorrow? And that's all you can do every day and every day. And eventually, if you really do it right and you really push your body to the extreme, it will break down no matter how hard you train. I trained for 3 months prior to selection, like an Olympic athlete. Actually, I have my entire training program that it's written down. It's actually in a PowerPoint presentation, and it's also available to those that want to go to selection. And I tell you, for 3 months, I was in the best shape of my life, And probably about 3/4 of the way through the selection process is when my body started breaking down. I mean, it just couldn't keep up with the pace anymore. And the only thing that kept me going through selection was the mindset. So in my course, for example, there's 2 selection courses per year, at least there was. Of my course, 110 started, which was actually about 10 more than usual, selected Army-wide. And of the 110 that started, 6 of us finished the course and 3 of us were selected. I was the youngest guy at the age of 23 to make it to selection, to Delta Force at the time. So that ought to tell you how tough it is. I mean, Army-wide, they canvassed everybody that met the minimum requirements to apply. They said, come and apply. Those that came and applied, they still had to go through a very rigorous background check, physical fitness check, medical check. And that's another one about medical check, right? I love it when people go, I didn't make it through because, I had a problem, whatever. My lungs hurt, my heart hurt, or, my ass hurt. So, excuses are great, Everybody's got excuses, like assholes. We all have one. They all stink. So, here's the thing. When you quit, a lot of guys, when they don't make the standard, particularly if they quit, right? We call it Victor Whiskey, voluntary withdrawal. Sorry, I want a Victor Whiskey. I want a voluntary withdrawal. I tell you, get on the truck, put on your little warmies, get warm, get comfortable. They take you back to the main camp. They let you go shower, change your clothes, feed you, make you feel good. And then the commander brings you in for an out briefing, basically tells you, gives you an attaboy or whatever, and then sends you home. And invariably, almost every guy that goes in there, now they feel pretty good. They got a full stomach, they're rested, they're warm, they got a shower. They always ask, well, I'd like to try again, sir. And the answer is this. This is always the answer. There's no exception to this answer. It's always the same answer. You can have a change of mind, but you can't have a change of heart. You can have a change of mind, but you can't have a change of heart. And that's what they're evaluating. That's what they're assessing is your heart. What have you got inside to get through this course? And they're looking for the guy with the most heart. I have a friend that went through with me, and ready for this? He broke both his shin bones, both of them, going through selection. Okay. And he finished the course and didn't tell anybody both his legs were broken. Okay. That's how bad he wanted it. 2 broken legs and made it through at the end. And then he revealed it at the end and he went through the board. And then basically what happened from there was like, look, we can't use, you got 2 broken legs. He had bad broken shins. And what they did is they sent him to a veterinarian in Texas. And they used a veterinarian because this guy was good at putting rods in the racehorse legs and stuff like that. And that's what they did to him. They put rods in his legs, and he came back to the unit a year later, and he was an operator, one of the best operators we had. And, and that's just one of many examples, That's what it means to have a heart, right? Not my heart's broke or my ass is broke or my leg is broke. It's mind over matter, I don't mind and my body don't matter. I'm going to make it through. And so therein is the difference between a SEAL and a Delta Force operator. The Delta Force is the smallest, most elite unit in the world, by far the best unit in the world. In fact, we used to go compete in what they call the CT Olympics. And the CT Olympics were held in Europe, and they invited the best special forces, counter-terrorist teams, SWAT teams from around the globe. There were, Soviet communist teams there. There was Germans there, Austrians, Australians, Americans. It was SEAL Team 6. It was Delta Force. And the Delta Force selection, just to be on that team, to go compete and represent the unit, was very arduous. They always sent 7 guys. 5 guys were on the team and 2 guys were backup support. And we had to actually try out to be on that team, right? And then because we want to make sure we feel the best Delta Force operators. Invariably, our teams always took the top 5 positions in that competition. All the marksmanship, combat marksmanship, we won it hands down. And this is going to piss off a lot of people out there, especially people that love SEALs. We even outswam the SEALs, okay? Actually outswam the SEALs, all right? So that's a fact. That is a fact. And so I know nobody wants to hear that, but that's the reality. I'm not knocking SEALs because I got a lot of SEAL friends. But, you don't hear about Delta Force because they truly are the quiet professionals. They have done more than most units will ever do. I mean, SEALs, I heard, what's this jackass named Rob O'Neill. I'm going to call him that too, because he's a turd. I know a lot more about him than he thinks I know. But this guy went out on Fox News, and when he was asked, well, how come you never hear of Delta Force? And he came out, well, because they don't freaking do nothing. Well, that's such a bunch of bullshit, because you know why? SEAL Team 6 was started after Delta Force. And guess what? Guess where they got their TONE and TTP? They got it from Delta Force. We go, hey, guys, here you go. This is how you get started in this program. So, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Well, I can tell you it was the Delta Force. It is the premier counter-terrorist unit in the world. And every man is selected based on his merit. Okay, you should be able to operate unilaterally by yourself. It doesn't matter what it is, and as a unit. And by the way, why is a Delta Force operator? It's always been Delta Force operator, right? Everybody since then has hijacked the operator term because it sounds really cool. The reason we were Delta Force operators is because we never, some days we worked as soldiers, some days we worked as civilians, and some days we worked as other government agencies. We were credentialed as others, right? So, we weren't always a soldier. Sometimes we were working in a civilian capacity, undercover, or working for another government agency. So therefore, that's why we were an operator, because we weren't just a soldier or a civilian or an agent. Since that time, everybody's hijacked the term operator, and everybody's an operator. Cops are operators, SWAT operators, operator this, operator that. As everybody wants to be high speed, but nobody wants to do what we call long walk. That long, rigorous, freaking walk that just crushes people through the mountains. So, anyways, that's kind of the little bit of the background of Delta Force versus Navy SEALs. And you want to be part of the most elite unit. In fact, I would even argue this. SEALs are always trying out for Delta Force. Delta Force never tries out for SEAL. You name one guy that was a Delta Force operator tried out to be a Navy SEAL. It never happens. It's a downgrade. Okay. Everybody wants to upgrade, right? That's why there are Navy SEALs, there are Marines now in the Delta Force. And why is that? Because the selection process is so hard. Okay. It's so difficult that the unit was not able to get enough people out of the Army, so they had to canvass all the military services to find the best guys, the best applicants they can get. So that's why you have Marines, you have Navy SEALs, you have Air Force. They're not looking for the skill sets as much as what they're looking for is the man. When I was in the unit, we had guys that were everything from mechanics to helicopter crewmen. You don't have to have a special background. You would be a Green Beret or a Ranger or something like that. What they're looking for is the right guy. In fact, some would argue, Delta Force picks the best guys. No, they actually just pick the right guys, and there is the difference. So there you have it, man. That's my take on it.
It kind of, yeah. We'll keep this short. Yeah, it makes me think of what you're saying, how you can kind of draw on the energy of others. It's like It's like 100 people pooling into an insurance plan in case one of you gets a broken leg versus having no insurance and just making sure you got a couple $1,000 set aside in case you broke your leg. It's
Yeah,
there's no one to draw from. You're fucked. You're fucked. And if you're not, you're not.
yeah. No, that's and it's that way for a reason.
Yeah.
Because of the mission. It's Delta Force operators are asked to do things that nobody else will do. I can do, right? So it's just what it is, and you want to make sure you send the right guy out there with the right attitude that can coordinate with other agencies, work alongside other agencies, and I mean we're the jack of all trades. We could do everything, man. I mean everything. We could do as well as anybody or better. Whether it came to scuba operations, halo operations, mobility operations, shooting. By far, the best combat marksmanship came out of the Delta Force. In fact, if you look around today at a lot of the equipment that's out there, it had its genesis in Delta Force. You look at a lot of the combat marksmanship techniques that you see now, all of that had its genesis in the Delta Force. And it's amazing when I look around now at foreign armies. You look at their gear and their equipment, they have basically adopted the same gear that, had its genesis in the Delta Force, so Green Berets, Rangers, Marine SEALs, they're using a lot of the gear that we created. And now other countries are looking at us going, let's use their stuff too. I've seen Spetsnaz videos of these guys carrying all kinds of stuff, aim points and, or their version of it, basically setting their weapon systems up, their uniforms, their helmets, their tactics, everything like Delta Force. So that's the reality of it. That might hurt some feelings. Everybody thinks that SEALs are, creme de la creme. No, far from it. They're just out there that, writing books and making movies and breaking OPSEC. You don't hear about Delta Force operators because they are soldiers, they are regimented, they are disciplined, and they are truly the quiet professionals because they know how important that is to keep their mouth shut. And they're not in it for the self-acclaim and glory. I'm probably one of the few that actually wrote the book, and that was long after I had left the organization. And it was written partly to give the organization credit because I was tired of watching everybody else, fall all over the SEALs and read their books. And oh my God, and it's like, you know what? There's an organization out there, there's a unit out there that's even more lethal, more capable. Who do you think they're going to call, man, when things really go to shit? They call the unit. And if you see, and I can give examples, I won't do it here, but examples where, the SEALs were front and center, but behind them was the unit. All right. They were in the back of the shadows doing the job, so it's kind of funny. It's a little irritating sometimes, but, it is what it is. And there it stands.
Well, I mean, we'll wrap on this note is last March, right after I started the podcast, and I had seen a bunch of SEALs on Joe Rogan and I was emailing them and I couldn't get any responses. And then I was like, I didn't know what Delta Force was. And then I was read up on it and I was like, so I was trying to find them and I was like, I can't find any that's how I found you. Is I was like, what the fuck is Delta Force? And I found you and I was like, shit, I got to get this guy. Yeah, you can go episode 50 on my podcast. You can see me because I'm like just learned about what it was. And there you go. At 30 years old, I just learned what it was.
Yeah. Awesome, man.
There you go. Yeah, man. It's very last note, Mike Durant, Black Hawk Down pilot, he talked about when he was finally brought back to the American compound and he was all morphined up and on a stretcher, said everyone's coming up to him. How you doing? And he goes, Delta comes up to him and he goes, they don't say a word, not how you doing. They're like, what can you tell us about Shugart and Gordon? And they go, it's all business. And he goes, so there I am with a broken femur and a broken back. And Delta's there with a clipboard asking me questions. Like, he's like debriefing me. Delta, he goes, Delta works. There you go.
Stop whining, brother.
Exactly. Exactly. Dale Comstock.
All right, brother.
All right, buddy. Till next time.
Yes, sir.
Bye-bye. All right, man. Peace.